Namaskaraha.
Namaste, Shriji.
Namaskaram.
How's everyone? Did you all have a good summer?
Yes, Shriji.
Namaskaram, Shriji.
Namaskaram.
How was your trip?
It was good. I think it was, very, it was a little longer than what we expected. We had trouble getting back. We were delayed by a week, but I was able to do everything that I wanted to do for my mother. So that was great.
That's very good. Yeah.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Namaskaram, Sriji. Suprabhatam.
Namaskaram, Suprabhatam. Namaskaram.
Namaste, Guruji. Good to see you, Guruji.
Namaste. How are you, Bhaskarji?
Good, Guruji. It's so nice to see you. I like it. All your dress is like so amazing. I'm directly Durga Mata.
Oh, I don't know about that, but today is a special occasion in our family. But every weekend is usually like this, but today is a little more special than just regular weekend.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
Namaskaram, Shriji.
Namaskaram. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram, Shriji. Padma here.
Namaskaram, Padmaji.
How was your trip?
It was very good. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. We got delayed by an extra week. We were there. So
okay.
Mother's blessings. But I was able to do everything that I needed to do for my mother.
Yeah.
There. So which was
Did you go to Kerala?
No, I did not end up going to Kerala.
Okay.
But we did
Next
visit
time.
a lot of temples, like all my mother's favorite temples, as well as my grandfather's on both sides. They had real temples, so we had been able to visit them and do some donations and things like that.
Yeah, awesome. Next time, Kerala.
Yeah, next time. We'll get started.
Namaskaram.
Please, everybody. I could just mute everybody before anybody joins. Like that's not been happening. Let me just mute everyone, please.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram. Okay, we'll get started. Ganana tva ganapatigum havamahe kavim kavinamupamashravastamam jyeshtarajam brahmanam brahmanaspata anashunvannutibhissidha sadanam Om Shri Mahaganadhipataye Namaha Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhir Vajinivati Dhinama Vitriyavatu Saraswatyai Namaha Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. And we'll just do a quick, I think, revision. I did not want to scare anybody by just sending a pop quiz. I did not want to start with an exam, a new semester. So we'll probably do a quick recap of the context of Vishnu Sahasranamam, and then we'll get started. Hopefully we'll get started with a few namas today. So Vishnu Sahasranamam is from the Mahabharata. After the war, Bhishma was on the Ampashaya and Yudhishthira had a lot of questions about dharma. And those questions were answered to him. And after that, so if you see Sri Vaishampayana Uvacha, that shloka at the beginning, right after the Dhyana shloka. So in the Dhyana shlokas, we start with, Ganapati, which is also that shloka, which is a beautiful shloka, Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum. So it is done for both Lord Vishnu as well as Lord Ganapati as the Vigna Harta. And then we do Vishwaksena as the next Dhyana shloka. And then we go into Vyasa. After that, Vaishampayana gives the context, like Vaishampayana Vyasa. He provides the context on where this is coming from. So, Shrutva Dharman Aseshena. So, after listening to a lot of, Dharma Bodha, then Yudhishthira is asking in Punareva Abhyabhashata means he's restarting a conversation. So Yudhishthira asked questions to Bhishma. So there are 6 questions he asked. We have seen all of those 6 questions. I won't go into details there. And then Bhishma starts answering those questions in a beautiful set of shlokas. And towards the end, he says, who is the one God we need to pray to? Is like, no, that was Yudhishthira's question. And Bhishma answers it with a very beautiful set of shlokas. Jagat Prabhum, Deva Devam, Anantam, a lot of these in the second Vibhakti, those who are doing like, Sanskritam and learning Sanskritam. So Jagat Prabhum, Deva Devam, Anantam, Purushottamam. So doing Stuvan Nama Sahasrena, doing the stotra of the 1,000 names of Purushaha, Satatothitaha, Satata Uthitaha. So he provides all of that context. And then we actually going to the Purvanyasa. We talked about the importance of Purvanyasa and why we do the Anganyasam and Karanyasam. So Vishnor Divya Sahasranama Stotra. So that is the name of this stotram. And Veda Vyasa is the Rishi. We said we will touch the head, and Chandas is Anushtup Chandas, and then Devata towards the heart. So I won't go into all of those explanations, but that's how you start. So you purify. Nyasa is a purification form on how you you start with that, purify yourself, and then do the stotram, and then Karanyasam, and then the Anganyasam, Hridaya, Shiras, and Shikha. So all of those. And then we go into amazing set of dhyana shlokas, which we have seen in detail on how to visualize Bhagavan's form, both as the Saguna Swarupam and the Nirguna Swarupam, Kshiro Dhanvat Pradeshe. And even like, Chayayam Parijatasya, under the shade of the Parijata tree, Hema Simhasana Upari. So on the top of a golden throne, Asinam Ambudashyamam Ayataksham Alankritam. So Bhagavan is adorned with all the jewelry, and that the Shyama Varna Bhagavan is sitting atop that throne. So lots of beautiful dhyana shlokas. If you want to just revise any of these, please go back to the early parts of our sessions that have been recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Now, what we will do is to just take a few amazing, beautiful namas, and we will take it at random. I don't have anything that is highlighted or specific. Before we go, and we will see what are some of those key namas that we have seen. We completed till 58th shloka, and we need to start with 59. So let's see how many shloka namas we can cover. If anybody wants us to touch on a specific nama that you want, either you like that nama or it's your favorite nama or you want some more clarification on it, we'll stop there and we'll go into 59th shloka. And during this course, we've also been trying to chant the shloka in the proper way. And there were sessions conducted on how to chant the shlokas. If anybody is interested, those audios, I'm assuming I uploaded all the audios. Those are also available on YouTube on the chanting. So the first shloka in any of the namas, the first few namas describe the entire magnanimity or opulence of Bhagavan. And that's the other thing. We also talked about Bhagavan. Bhaga means like the 6 opulences Bhagavan has. So there is a Vishnu Purana shloka that we talked about. Anybody remembers those 6? You can unmute yourself. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashriyah. Then Jnana Vairagyayashchaiva Shannam Bhaga Ityabhidiyate or Bhaga Itigana. So I don't remember the last part of the shloka. So it is Aishwaryam, absolute measures of Aishwaryam, what that is wealth. Then Virya, that is strength. Then Yashaha, that is fame. Shriyaha, that is prosperity or wealth, or you could call it beauty or auspiciousness. Then Jnana, knowledge. And Vairagya, I don't want to use the word renunciation or anything like that. Vairagya should be taken as it's one of those untranslatables. So Bhagavan is somebody who has these in the absolute measure. And we all have a little bit of his amsha. Therefore, we all have some of these, and some people have a little more of something, one or two. But having them in balance is what makes a man lead towards the perfection. But we can never have them in the absolute measure. We will always be a relative small part, a small speck of him.
Guruji, sorry for the interruption. I mean, namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
And I know you told about the sixth one. So I mean, I suddenly couldn't capture the second and the third and the fourth. One is Aishwaryam, then
Aishwaryam, then Viryam, Yashaha, Shriyaha, then what am I missing? Jnanaha and Vairagyaha.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
Vairagyam, sorry, Vairagyaha is not.
Yeah. That is renunciation or something, no?
Yeah, Vairagya is, I think, loosely translated as renunciation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now we will go into Vishnu Sahasranamam. There is also one more important thing that we have talked about before getting into these shlokas, that each shloka, there are 108 shlokas that constitute the entire Vishnu, the Sahasranamas. And if you divide the 108 by 4, it will be 27. So there are 27 nakshatras. For each nakshatram, there is a one padam. So the entire amount of the time, number of nimishas that a nakshatram will stay in the day, that is divided into 4 parts, divided by like 4. And the first part is called as that nakshatram's first padam. For example, if we think of Ashwini nakshatram, which is considered the first these days, whereas in Veda, it starts with a different nakshatra. But if let's assume Ashwini nakshatram, Ashwini has first pada, second pada, third pada, and fourth pada. So the first 4 shlokas are related to Ashwini nakshatram. Somebody is born in Ashwini nakshatram first padam can chant this first that shloka as their continuous parayanam. So similarly, for all the nakshatras, 27 nakshatras times all the 4 padas will be the 108 shlokas. So I have provided a chart for that. It is uploaded to our Google Drive. If anybody wants it, I can repost it. So that is considered your personalized shloka. We talked about that. There's something else we talked about. I'm missing that. Anyways, so we will move into the actual namas. And each of these, yes, that's the other part. So there are different ways of getting the benefit from Vishnu Sahasranamam. We have not seen the Phalashruti. Usually what people do is talk about Phalashruti on why you should do this and then explain what it is. I feel like Phalashruti should be less important. Yesterday, Shaji Mahadev was talking about byproducts, right? Those are byproducts. What you get from it, you get wealth and you get dhairyam, etc., should be byproducts. But what we are trying to do with any parayanam, any puja, is to connect with God and be in proximity to Him and be as close to Him as possible. And of course, ultimately, leading towards that unison that we hope we get. Appreciate if everybody mute themselves, please. We don't have any ambient noises.
Shriji, namaskaram. This is Bhavani.
Namaskaram, Bhavani ji.
I have one more question. Would you be able to explain briefly the nyasa and like you enter it and then you get out of it? That kind of like after nyasa, you reverse it?
Yes.
Just very briefly, please.
Sure, absolutely. So we call that the Purvanyasam, which is actually purifying and getting into that dhyana mode, that you are actually building a bubble around you. So you don't get disturbances from the Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, or Adhyatmika, or any kind of disturbances. You're just controlled atmosphere. You're creating that kind of bubble. That is essentially the meaning of nyasa. And then once you're done with the entire parayanam, there is something called as the Uttaranyasam or Vimokhanyasam. So you do Digbandhaha. So you're building a nice, you're zipping things around you to create that bubble in the Purvanyasam. And then Digvimokaha, the opposite direction, after you have completed the entire parayanam. So I don't remember if I have provided what usually like, some for some mantra japas, we absolutely do Uttaranyasam. What I have noticed is even if you listen to Amma Subhalakshmi Amma's chanting of Vishnu Sahasranamam, most people do just the Purvanyasam and do not do an concluding ending Digvimokhanyasam. It's usually the norm. And some chants or some are okay to do that. You can continue carrying that kind of bubble around you. You're building that bubble. But there are some other mantras that are meant for some other purposes that we will talk during Lalita Sahasranamam, where Digvimokham is absolutely must be completed before you get up. Otherwise, you'd have, you can feel the difference during the day. So for Uttaranyasam, we don't do Karanyasa. Some people do it, but usually the general rule, what's in the books and even Prapancha Sara Sangraha by Adi Shankaracharya, is that you only do you don't do the Karanyasam, but you only do the Anganyasam. So whatever nyasa you have done for the Hridaya Nyasa and the Shiras and Shikha, you just repeat that, repeat the Dhyana Shlokas and do the Panchopacharam. So once you have done the Dhyanam of Bhagavan and instilled him in your heart, then you do Panchopacharam with just, these Lam Pritivyatmane Gandham Kalpayami. So you do all the Pancha Upacharas. We have talked about those. If anybody needs the documentation or I've done also a video about that. If anybody needs refresher for those, just let me know in the forum. I can repost those. Does that clarify, Bhavaniji?
Yes, Sriji, that's good.
And then we talked about 3 different ways of doing Parayanam. One is Japa, and the second one is Archana. The third one is Parayana. So Japam is you can take an individual nama and you can continuously chant that as a mantra japa. Sorry, that was my husband looking. Okay, so every nama, there are 1,000 namas, and for Vishwam, Om Vishwasmai Namaha or Om Vishnave Namaha, Om Vashatkaraya Namaha. So everything comes in the 4th vibhakti for those who are learning Sanskritam. Think about this is like, Vishwam and Vishnuhu. So as a nama, it comes in the 1st vibhakti. But when you're doing Namaha to Vishwam, I am doing Namaha. So when that 2 comes, it comes in the 4th vibhakti. So Vishnave Namaha or Vashatkaraya Namaha. So I've been also mentioning those individual namas, and if there is like, once you know the meaning and it is kind of something that you feel like, oh yeah, this is my favorite nama, and or I need something like, I have Kamya Japam that I need to do. I have a desire that I need to fulfill, and this namam may be able to help me there. So you would use that 4th vibhakti of that nama and do continuous japam of that nama. And there are so many powerful namas in the entire Vishnu Sahasranamam. We talked about that.
You don't want to be on video.
Okay. Then the second way to do it is Archana. With each of the namas, you're doing like, either with Akshatas or with Pushpam or like, some other form of Archana. And then doing the Parayanam. Parayanam is also like the daily Parayanam, no desire, you're just chanting because you want to chant it. It's like, it's part of your daily routine. That is one way of doing the Parayanam. Then there is a Kamya Parayanam. And what they say is if you're doing it as a daily routine, it does not have a lot of regulations or rules to go with it. But if you're doing a Kamya Parayanam, which is to fulfill some desires, then there are regulations like, do it in the morning after Snanam and your Sandhya Vandanam, and do it like, with you have to offer Naivedyam after that and do it proper like the 5 Panchopacharams in the physical form. Like you have to offer Gandham, not just doing this if it is Kamya Parayanam. And then there is a Samuhika Parayanam, where we do it in temples for like, Loka, for the welfare of everybody. So those are Samuhika Parayanams. You can do it with your family or your friends. So that's different ways of how to use Vishnu Sahasranamam. We'll get into a few namas. So the first shloka and the first few namas describe the entire essence of what you're about to read or about to chant in the next parts of the shlokas. So Vishwam, with just one nama, Bhishmacharya nails everything, like, the entire universe. Vishwam itself is Bhagavan. And then he talks about Vishnuhu. So somebody who is Vishwam is the entire existence. I don't want to use the term universe too. It's the entire existence that has ever been, ever is, ever will be, in all those three kalas, whatever ever existed or non-existed or not manifested, not non-existed, not manifested, that all of that is Bhagavan. And then Vishnuhu is somebody who has pervaded this entire universe. He's not created it and sitting somewhere in, like, in a different corner. He has pervaded the entire universe. So he is around us. He is in this laptop. He is in like everything that we are. And of course, because he is in everything that he has created, and he has created me and he has created all of us, he is within all of us. So we talked about, like, that location of where he is has been, like, given in Veda in many ways. So easy, just in the middle of the, the Padmam that we talked about in the Narayana Suktam. He is in the heart as the Urdhva, like, the inverted lotus bud. That's the shape that is described. But at the same time, is he not in a different cell of my body? No, that cannot be, because he has pervaded everything that exists from the macro to the micro. Then Bhuta Bhavya Bhavat Prabhu. He is the Lord. He is the Ishvara of Bhuta, the Bhavya, and Bhavishyat, and the existence, the past, present, and future. He is the Lord of everything. Bhuta Krit, Bhuta Bhrit, Bhrut Bhavo, Bhutatma, Bhuta Bhavanaha. So he is the one that created the Bhutas, all the living beings. Bhuta Bhrit, he is the one that is nourishing and sustaining them. And Bhrut Bhavo, so he is the one that has emerged or manifested. He is the Bhutatma, he is the Atman within all the living beings. And he is the Bhuta Bhavanaha, he is everything that is manifesting as emotion and every of those. So that first shloka itself should tell us, and the entire thing, whatever exists, there is nothing that is not Bhagavan. He is the essence of that first shloka. Now, I won't go into each and every nama, but first shloka was important, so I just mentioned that. So we'll just skip through a few namas. Sorry, I might have to conclude it here. I don't know what's happening. That's why my husband was here trying to tell me something, but I didn't understand what he was trying to say. I'll just mute myself and probably pause the recording, and we will restart in a few minutes if this goes away. Otherwise, we'll do it next week. Sorry. So moving to a few more namas, the other thing that we talked about was the entire Vishnu Sahasranamam is Vedanta. So what you see, like, we've also talked about what Vedanta is, and I won't go into that, but it is the Atma Jnanam, and there are many, many namas, and we've done an exercise on identifying all the Atma namas, like, Bhutatma, Paramatma. So we've done that exercise. So like whatever you see in Vedanta, all the Upanishad Saram, the Brahma Sutra Saram, or Bhagavad Gita Saram, everything you will find in Vishnu Sahasranamam as individual namas. Even if you take a single nama out of this, even then you would find the entire Saram of the Vedanta or all the Upanishads in these namas. So Avyayaha is he cannot be, there is no Vyayam for him. And what is Vyayam? He is not destructible is one thing, but I'm going to use the word, he cannot be Vyayam is expense, right? Like, you cannot, he is expanding as the universe. So we talked about the Big Bang theory and whatnot, the scientists and NASA documents talk about. So there was a Big Bang, and with just, in one moment, the entire universe is created, and it is further expanding, and at some point it is manifesting as we speak. And then at some point, all of this will be unmanifested during the Pralaya Kala. And in between this, the creation and the Pralaya, there will be sustenance, and that also is taken care of by Bhagavan himself. And during all of this, there is nothing that is either when we talk about the matter is neither created nor destroyed, it only changes forms. So that's what avyaya means, that nothing is getting spent. So he is the same, whether it is in the manifested form as the entire universe, or when it is in the unmanifested form as what they call as the God's particle. Then Purushaha, he is living within Puri, in this Dehi, in this Deham. He is the Dehi in this Puri. He is the Purushaha. We talked about that. He is the Sakshi. He is observing everything that is happening. So he is the witness. Consciousness is the witness. We talked about those. Kshetrajnaha is a word I think we're going to see a little more in detail in Lalita Sahasranamam today, if we can get to the shloka that we are going to start with. So Kshetrajna, Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, that is that nama, you can take it as the entire essence of Bhagavad Gita chapter 13. And if you see shloka 5, Swayambhu, so somebody who is emerged from within himself. We talked about the Nimitta Upadana Karanam. Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. I should also add that word into front. So he is the material cause, and he is also the intellectual cause that has created the entire universe. So he is just not coming up with the idea on how to create the universe. And he did not have a chisel and some wood to start carving. And we talked about Adi Shankaracharya explaining that as the carpenter example. So he wouldn't have had a spot and pre-made material that he could bring and create the universe. He had to generate the material that is required to create the universe from within himself. And we also seen the Urna Nabhi Nyaya at this point. Urna Nabhi is spider, how spider brings out the material that it builds this web with. So similarly, Bhagavan had to bring out the material from within himself. He himself is the material that has created the universe. So Swayambhu, from his own self, he emerged, or he is emerged on his own without any additional resources or causes. Then Shivaha, so we also talked about the abhinnam between Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva. You would see Vishnu namas in Shiva Sahasranamam, and there are multiple Shiva Sahasranamas, and someday we'll pick those up as well. But in Vishnu Sahasranamam, you see Shambhuhu, Shivaha, and there are some other namas like that. So it just gives the importance of the no difference between the Ashtakshari mantra or the Panchakshari mantra. Then let's see, Padmanabha. We've seen multiple meanings for each of these namas. I'm not going to go into those. I'm just going to pick a few, and we'll start off with the shloka where we need to start. Padmanabha. So we have seen multiple meanings to this. One is, of course, Padmanabha is the Bhagavan has Nabham from Padmam coming out of the Nabhi, and that's where the creation has started from with Chaturmukha Brahmaji, Lord Brahma. But we also talked about what is Padmanabham in the chakras and in the Manipura chakram, and how that is associated with the evolution of a human being from the dharmartha kama moksha, dharmartha kamas to moksha, and up going towards the anahata and the vishuddhi chakras. So we talked about those. Then Pundarikaksha in shloka 12. Pundarikaksha, we talked about using the Pundarikaksha as the Pavaka mantra. So it is by just doing Pundarikaksha, 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 we purify ourselves. So there is a shloka for it, which we talked about. And then the next nama I'm seeing is shloka 13, Vishwayonihi. He is the womb for everything that existed. And that also is like a Bhagavad Gita shloka where Bhagavan says, I am the womb for the entire creation. Moving to shloka 14. So Vedo, Veda Vidavyango, Vedango, Vedavit Kavihi. That entire line is about how Bhagavan has created the Vedas, or Bhagavan is the origin of the Vedas. I shouldn't say creation. Origin of the Vedas, and how he is the one that is the knower of the entire Vedas, and also he is the one who can provide that kind of jnanam of the knowledge of the entire Veda to anybody who is pursuing Vedic studies. And he is the Vedangaha. Vedas are his angas or his limbs, and Vedavit. He is the Vedavit. He is the one who is the knower, and he is also the one who can make somebody the knower of Vedas. And he is the one that is to be known by understanding the Vedas. Then we saw the importance of Chaturatma, Chaturvyuhas, Chaturdamstras, Chaturbhujaha, the Chatur namas, the 4 namas that are talking about four things, the Chaturatma. And we have seen those in detail on why 4 of Chaturvyuhaha. There are 4 vyuhas, Chaturdamstraha and Chaturbhujaha. So go back and refer to those beautiful namas there. Then we have seen Mahanamas in Shloka 19, Mahabuddhihi, Mahaviryo, Mahashaktihi, Mahadyutihi. So again, Mahanama has to be associated with absolute Parabrahman and cannot be used for any basic. So sometimes we say, like, Mahadanandam. But Mahat Shabda is not to be used so loosely. Maha is to be in the absolute Parabrahma Vachaka. Then he is the Shriman, and we have seen multiple meanings for this, and we brought mother into the context here as well, how he is. There is a beautiful Annamacharya Kirtana called as, like, anybody who understands Telugu, Puttu Bhogulamu Memu Bhuvi Haridasulamu. Because, and in that he actually, Annamacharya says, when our father is married to the mother, the wealth, the Shri herself. So who needs to provide anything to us? We are born rich. Nobody needs to provide us any like, money or jobs or anything like that. We are just, by default, we are born rich is what he says. It's a beautiful Kirtana, if anybody wants to listen to it. So Shriman has multiple meanings and related to mother as well. Then we'll go to 24th shloka. Sahasramurtha Vishwatma Sahasrakshas Sahasrapat, one of my favorite shlokas. And you would see that the same kind of, there's significant relevance between like the Narayana Suktam and Purusha Suktam with this, where Bhagavan is Sahasrashirisha Purushaha or Sahasrasirisham Devam. So Bhagavan has 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, like, and it just shows 1,000 feet. Sahasra has 2 different meanings. One is 1,000 and one is infinite. So you have to take it as the infinite in this context, that every set of eyes, if he is the one that has created the entire universe and he is within all of us, then all the eyes and all the heads and all the brains, everything that exists is all nothing but him or his property. So in that context, he has infinite Sahasramurtha. Murtha means heads. Vishwatma and Sahasrakshaha. Akshaha is eyes and Sahasrapat is the number of feet. Then 27, Siddhartha Siddha Sankalpaha Siddhidas Siddhi Sadhanaha. So this is for getting all the siddhis. It is used for that purpose as a kamya chanting, like kamya japam. But this is like, somebody who siddha artha, anybody who is looking for achieving something. So Bhagavan himself is siddhartha, and he is the one who can bestow that kind of benefit for all his bhaktas, because he is the bhakta vatsala. Then there is Vangmi in 29. Vangmi is the speech, like, he provides the quality. He is the one that actually is the speech. We will see a little more in detail when we go into Lalita Sahasranamam, Para Pashyanti, Vaikhari, Madhyama, all of those will come. So he is the Nada Brahman, and he is the one that is the voice within us. And that voice, and we have seen, like, 10 types of nadas, and we've talked about those during Lalita Sahasranamam. So he's the one that is in the form of speech. He's the one who can make us an orator. There are multiple meanings to that nama, but that's also a very important one, Vangmi. And then in 30th shloka, Ojaha. He is the ojas within us. He is the tejaha within us. He's the brilliance. He's everything, the power, the strength that we actually have. And the next one is Amrutam Shudbhavaha. Amrutam Shudbhavaha. So the one that has emerged from Amrutam and the one that can give us the Amrutatvam, which is the no birth, no return to a Janma in the future. He's the Aushadham. He's the medicine. And he is the medicine from that can take us from this samsara. Somebody who is like, what we call as taraka mantras, if you remember, somebody who can help us swim across this ocean of samsara. And he is also the aushadham that can cure many diseases. Shloka 33, Adrishyaha and Avyakta Rupascha. So he is the unmanifested and the manifested, and therefore, and he cannot be seen. He can only be perceived if you understand the essence of where he is, where his location is. So Adrishyaha Avyakta Rupascha. So we've talked about that a little bit in detail, and we talked about meditations and how you would see watch your mind kind of meditation that I talked about, if you remember those. And if anybody has done that meditation and has an experience, I'd love you to share those experiences with the rest of the group. We'll leave a few moments towards the end. So let's just go past quite a few shlokas. So let's see. Somapaha in 54. So we talked about Somayagam and Somapanam and how he is Somapa. He is the one Vashatkara in the first shloka. He is the one that is the Brahmarpanam Brahmavihi, similar to that shloka in Bhagavad Gita. He is the one that is receiving all the benefits. And we've also talked about this shloka called Akashat Patitam Toyam Yatha Gacchati Sagaram Sarvadeva Namaskaraha Sri Keshavam Priti Gacchati. Any Namaskara, to any Bhagavan or any other form of Bhagavan, they all reach the Parabrahman, the ultimate Bhagavan, Lord Vishnu. So he is the one who is doing the yajna. He is the one that is the havis. He is the one that is the homam. He is the homagni, and he is also the one that is receiving the offerings from a homam, and he is the one that is also doing the homam. So homam has a significant importance in Vedic rituals. I don't want to use the word ritual again, apologies. In our Vedic culture, and because it is so connected to Bhagavan. And Arya Samaj, anybody who is the followers of Arya Samaj, they do homam every day, even these days. Like, they don't worship in Bhagavan in Saguna forms, but they do homam and the way that it is prescribed in Vedic texts. Then we talked about Maharshihi, Kapilacharyaha. So I won't go into those. Tripadaha as the Vamana, we talked about that. Any namas that I left out quite a few, but just wanted to do a quick primer before we actually start. So the refresher of what we have done in the many other classes that we have completed, I think 36 or so in the past.
Mala mantra.
Mala mantras, yeah. So mala mantras are you take a sequence of mantras and you chant them together because they are in a beautiful sequence. So you see the individual sets of mantras, and we have done brackets between in those. For example, we were just talking about Chaturatma, Chaturvyuha, Chaturdamshtra, Chaturbhujaha. That is a mala mantra. Again, Vedo Veda Vidapyango. That is also a mala mantra. So it is a sequence of mantras, and we'll see a little more about mala mantras when we do the primer or refresher of Lalita Sahasranamam. Anybody wants to share any experiences or anything I missed? Namaskaram, Jayaramanji.
Sriji, thank you for this intro. It was very, very useful to bring back all the senses. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think even if when you just try to do a quick chant and try to do, instead of doing the entire shloka Achyuta Pradita Prana, at least just when you're doing that, you will remember like the meanings of what each of those are. And there were 108 namas that we would have taken out of this that I shared as well in the group, that are the essence of the Nirguna Brahman and what Nirguna Brahman is. And we also talked about many other religions or other people thinking we have so many gods, and why do you need so many gods? It's not so many gods. And we have not talked about some of those myths, how we start associating or getting close to a form of Bhagavan that is closer to our heart. At the same time, we kind of evolve into understanding that there is no difference at all, and there is ultimately one Parabrahman. And we've seen some of those 108 namas. If you remember those, if anybody wants those posted, I can post them as well. Just let me know, or check the Google Drive. I still maintain the same folder. Any thoughts, questions, or shall we conclude a little early today? Day one.
Sriji, I'm not entirely clear about the name Kritanta Krita.
Kritanta Krit. So somebody who is the action, and we talked about Triputi.
Yes.
So the one that does the action itself, and the action that it is offered to. So all of those together. So kamaha, somebody who gets rid of all of our kamas, to gets rid of all our desires. And then kama kritkantaha. So how he also creates the desires within us. And then he makes us do actions. So yesterday we were talking about yantra rudhani mayaya, right? As if we are all on this this machine that is being run by Maya. So he is the one who makes us go into the Maya, and he is the only one that can bring us out of the Maya. So krita antakrit. That's the meaning of that nama.
Okay. Thank you.
So try chanting the so far, how many ever shlokas. If you want to do the full entire Sahasranamam, that'll be great. But if not, at least till 58 shlokas. There are few namas that we have highlighted in gold letters. Achyutananta Govinda. We talked about the importance of those 3 namas and how that just is why our grandparents or our parents used to say that so often. Achyutananta Govinda is very important. Govinda Nama has more than 10 different meanings. We talked about those, and Govinda appears quite a few times. And then we talked about the 24 Keshava Namas, if anybody remembers those. Those are very important as well. Keshava, Narayana, Madhava, Govinda. And the Achamanam is done with that, and we start off pujas with the 24 Keshava Namas if we are doing the Purvokta Karmas. And in Vaidika Karma, the Achamanam is done differently. And in Tantrika Karmas, it's done differently. But Purvokta Karmas, we start with the 24 Keshava Namas. For Sandhya Vandanam, we use the Achyutananta Govinda and then go into the Keshava Namas. So highlight while you're chanting, just take it a little slowly, and I'm trying to remember at least the first meaning, even if it is the physical, explaining the physical form of Bhagavan. That's how we will revise. So just go through all the shlokas, highlight what you feel is very important. And next week, we'll leave a few moments towards the end to see if anybody has any thoughts or questions. We'll talk about those namas, but we will start with 59th shloka next week. So there was a question on chat. Where do I start learning the chanting? I thought we were learning it from the beginning today. Oh, Asha ji, namaste. So we have, this is the study class where we go into deeper meanings of each of the namas. I have conducted chanting classes last year as a separate session in the evenings. I'm considering that for this year as well, if there is enough interest. So if you don't mind, if you're interested, just post it in the forum. I totally am with you on knowing how to chant is very, very important. And to me, knowing to not just chant, I've told everybody that I've been chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam since I was probably 8 years old. Without understanding the deeper meanings and Shankara Bhashyam until much, much later in my life. And I felt like I missed out so much not knowing the meanings. So it should be both on learning the technical chanting and the correct chanting, and also learning the meanings. So I want everybody to benefit from both of those aspects. So I hope that clears it. So let me know if you're interested in a chanting class, and if there is enough interest, I will definitely host one in the evenings. I will do that, Mayaji. I will share the Google Drive. Any other thoughts before we conclude? Okay, we'll conclude then. And I'm also very excited that we will be getting into, I think I did mention that, the Shri Namas are my favorite part of Vishnu Sahasranamam. I feel it's the essence of Vishnu Sahasranamam. That's how I'm very close to those Namas from 64, the second line of 64th shloka till the 65th shloka. Sri Vatsavaksha. So whenever I chant that, I'm just in tears, trying to see Bhagavan in the Shriman form. So I'm super excited. We are getting there very soon.
Sriji, you had mentioned about different names for different stars.
Yeah.
Is it considered okay to chant it for someone else who's not well or who needs to get into, like for your children, for example, or for your parents who are not well? Is that okay to do that?
Absolutely, it is okay. In the Sankalpam, whether you can do it in the actual Purvokta Karma type Sankalpam, or you can just think about that I'm doing this for them and you have them in your mind when you're doing it. Absolutely, you can. I do it very often.
Yes, I have been doing that for my niece who had a stroke.
Yeah.
And amazingly, she has, the doctor said she will not be walking, but she's walking now. And,
that's great.
I think Vishnu Sahasranamam chanting really helped her.
Yeah, I am with you on that. You can chant for others. And even if you didn't tell the other person that you're chanting for them, what I have heard is that the other person gets like dreams about Bhagavan, or somebody sends them prasadam from Tirumala or some other temple. So usually things like that do happen. So you can definitely chant for others.
Thank you.
Can you please repost it, Sriji?
Which part, Shatiji?
The Nakshatram, yeah.
Yeah, I will post it for sure.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll conclude for the day, and next week we'll start with 59th shloka. 59th or 58th, sorry.
It's so good to be back in this class again.
I know, I'm feeling the same way.
Wonderful, it's wonderful.
Yeah. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sarvam Sriman Narayana Charanaravinda Arpanamastu. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up next week.
Thank you, Sriji.
ధన్యవాదాలు. నమస్కారం.
Thank you, Sriji.
Thank you, Sriji.
Thank you, Sriji.
Dhanyavad.